that you are doing fantastic today. And I am so excited about our new guest. But first of all, I just hope that this episode brings you the inspiration and also helps you kind of get over these life goals that we need to achieve and just learn how to be your unique self and be the champion of your life. So I read our next guest, one of his books. He's got 7 out, okay? But I read one of his books and I saw a quote that I really wanted to share with you to start the episode. And the quote is by Muhammad Ali. And I just love him, love him, love him. But this is a quote from him. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is nothing. So, our next guest actually reminds me of an athlete because he does so much. He has podcasts, he writes books, he helps all these people. So, let me go ahead and read some of his bio. So, Nicky Billou is a #1 international selling author, is an advisor and confidant to some of the most successful and dynamic entrepreneurs in Canada. He is the founder of eCircle Academy, where he runs a year-long mastermind and educational program, working with coaches, consultants, corporate trainers, clinical owners, realtors, mortgage brokers, and other service-based entrepreneurs, positioning them as authorities in their niche. He is the creator of Thought Leader, Heart Leader Designation. Like I said, he does a lot. So let's bring him on. Hey, Nicky.
Michelle, it's so good to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I am so excited for you to be here. Like I said, I read the Finish Line Thinking book. And I grabbed that and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so glad he's going to be a guest on this Inspirational Hour because we do learn from these champion athletes. So, kind of tell us your backstory, how you got started in all of this, and what really inspires you.
Great question. So I'm actually originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution happened and my whole world got upended. My late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. So it was going to be a great place to raise his Christian family.
Right.
So he made a plan, he executed it, he got us out of Iran, and he settled us where I now live, which is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And at the time, I was mad. I didn't want to leave my home. I was 11 years old. These were my friends. This was my home. But in retrospect, man, what an amazing thing my father did for me. He changed the trajectory of my family's history and my family's legacy. He took us from tyranny to freedom. I know there's a lot of people these days, especially, that just go and they say about the West, about America. They go, oh my God, America is so oppressive, so racist, so sexist. I'm not here to pretend that it's perfect here.
Right.
Okay. But are you kidding me? This is the greatest, freest, most amazing place on the planet. The only people who think otherwise are ignorant, morons, or malevolent. Okay. So don't be ignorant, don't be a moron, and don't be malevolent. Right?
Absolutely love it.
The greatest place. 100%. Listen, back home in Iran, a few months ago, a 22-year-old girl, young woman, Mahsa Amini, was beaten to death because she walked outside with her hair partially uncovered. Imagine that. That's a crime in Iran. And in all kinds of places in the world, if you say bad things about the government or if you do things they don't approve of, this is what they'll do to you. Okay? Right. So we're all lucky to be here and we should all just count our blessings. That's the way I see it. And my late father, he was a champion for freedom too. I've become, as a result of this, a believer in freedom, in free expression and free enterprise. Without freedom, you can't have free expression. Without free expression, you can't have free enterprise. And I believe entrepreneurs are our best people. My dad was an entrepreneur. My late father, he uplifted you if he knew you. If you were looking for work, he'd find you a job. If you were looking to start a business, he'd help you start a business. If you were looking to buy a car, a house, or an apartment, you didn't have enough money, he'd top you up so you could buy that car, that house, that apartment. Now, who does that, Michelle? Well, the late, great Napoleon Billou, for one. Why would he do that? He did it because he was a devout Christian. He believed he'd been blessed by God, and it was his duty to share those blessings. He also did it because he was able to. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. I wanted to be of service to people. I got into the business of working with Olympic gold medal athletes, which you showed in the video you showed about me at the beginning of the episode. And then after a while, I got involved in business. My family was a business family. I understood business. And what I saw is a lot of people get into business that are good people. Hollywood likes to portray business people as bad guys and bad gals. Nothing could be further from the truth. The best people in our world are business people. They got the biggest hearts. They want to make the biggest difference for people. And so I want to help these people win. And here's what I saw. A lot of people are good at what they do, but they're not good at business. They don't understand marketing, sales, and customer service, and structures, and systems, and financial statements, and exit strategy. And I get all that. So I help these folks figure all that out. So when they plateau, because they're all eventually plateau, what I help them do is get all this figured out so they can get unstuck and get to the next level in their business.
Well, the number one thing I have to ask you, do you have any educators? Because I know a lot of educators like to go into business. But a lot of times, like you said, they don't have that business mind. And they think, oh, it's going to all work out without even planning or visualizing or anything in any type of business. So that your services are very well needed. And just kind of back up, I appreciate you talking about how freedom, because I think we do take a lot of advantage of it because we're used to it. And, we're not very grateful for what we have a lot of times. It's just, we kind of get used to our everyday lives. And for somebody who came from a country where you did not have the freedom, especially in business, and that type of thing, your dad was such a wonderful role model for you and for the world, Nicky. So thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And I'll tell you this, right? We've worked with some educators who've gone into business before.
Yes.
And it's wonderful to see them learn business and start to apply it.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important thing you need to do. If you're an educator and you decide to go into business, you want to help the world. That's why you got into education in the first place. It's probably why you got into business, but you deserve to also include you in the success you're bringing to the world. Your family deserves to have you make a lot of money so you can take care of them at the level that you want to and they deserve. So all those things are super, super important. I realize a lot of folks, like sales bothers a lot of people. So this is point number one that I want to make. You got to take the attention off yourself. You got to put the attention on the other person. One of my mentors said, when people come to you, they're not looking to buy your program. They're not buying their way into your program. They're buying their way out of their pain, out of their hell. They don't buy their way into something. They buy their way out of something. So your focus should be, this is a child of God. This is a mother. This is a father. This is a brother. This is a sister. This is a wife. This is a husband, daughter. This is a son. They've got goals. They've got dreams. And maybe they've been disappointed by life. Maybe they've been disappointed by someone like you. And your job is to turn their belief in human nature around by being that good person that makes a difference for them. And that's the first thing you got to do is take the attention off yourself, put it all on them. A lot of people are scared of going out and asking for business. I'm not. I'll ask anybody for business, but the reason I'll ask them for the business is because I know when I'm asking for the business, I'm doing it for their sake as much as I am for mine. What I can do is going to help transform and change their life.
Absolutely.
And if I'm in the business of serving rather than selling, because no one wants to be sold. You don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold. But if I serve you, you're going to be thrilled to pay me. And that's the way it's got to be. So the first thing you got to do is serve, don't sell, take the attention off you, put the attention on them.
I absolutely love it. And you know what, too? You brought up a great fact that a lot of people don't like to sell things. And I think, too, they don't have a good relationship with money. I think they emphasize too much on it and they don't realize that it will come. Once you serve, the money will come. You shouldn't have to worry about it, but we all do. So how do you get people to understand and have that relationship with money?
Well, the first thing I have them do is start to understand that money is an exchange of energy.
Mhm.
And if you have a bad relationship with money, if you charge too little for your services, as an example, that's bad for
Yeah.
you, but because you're not going to make the money you should, but it's worse for your client.
Hmm.
And you're going, what do you mean? Doesn't everybody like to pay less? Actually,
Yeah.
no, they don't. They don't. And let me demonstrate this for
Oh,
you.
awesome.
Something called the law of expectancy. So here's a pen. You see this pen? It's a lovely pen, black in color. It writes. Great pen, right?
Right.
I here's another pen, lovely pen, great pen. It writes.
Uh-huh.
Now, I own both of these pens. Which one of these two pens do you think I use more often?
Uh, I'm not for sure. Probably the nicer one. Yeah.
Yes. Why? The nicer one is a Mont Blanc. This is a $10 pen. This is a thousand
Oh my
dollar pen.
goodness.
Why do I use the $1,000 pen?
Because it writes better and maybe it's more expensive. I don't know it because
I
they
expect this to be a better pen because I paid
right,
$1,000 for
right,
it, and I only paid 10 for that pen. And it is a better pen. It writes better, it feels better in my hand, it looks
right.
nicer. When I sign a coaching contract with somebody for 20 or 30,000 or $50,000, this is the pen I
Oh,
sign with.
awesome.
Don't sign this pen. This is my spare pen that I use when this one runs out of ink. Or if I got someone in the room who needs to use a pen, I give them my spare pen.
Functionally, they do the exact same thing. Yes.
Correct. But you expect more from that which you pay
Mhm.
more for. That's called expectancy bias. I had a client. Client's name was Chris. Chris ran a acupuncture clinic and acupuncture kind of teaching
Mhm.
school. And he did well. He made 150,000 a year, but he had one big problem. He was in Manhattan, so that money
Oh,
came and went real
yeah.
fast. So he came to me and said, "Can you help me?" I go, "Yeah, of course I can help you. What do you need?" He said, "I need to make 10 times more money than I'm making now." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I need to make $1 million." I'm like, "All right, let's take a look at your
Mm,
business." We looked at his
right,
business. Everything about his business was great. He had great messaging. He solved a real problem for people because that's what you should do. You need to solve problems for people. Business is about solving problems for people for profit, nothing else.
mhm,
Business is only about that. So he did that. And guess what? There was one thing wrong with his business. He undercharged.
mm.
And he had A-list clients and he was charging C-list prices.
Wow.
So I told him, okay, bud, you got to raise your fees. He was okay. What, 10%? No, no, no.
Mhm.
20%? No, no, no. 30%? No. And how much? I said 20-fold.
Wow.
I can't do that. No, nobody's going to buy. No, relax, calm down. Don't hyperventilate. No, but you understand. Relax, calm down. It's okay. It's okay. If you undercharge, they're not going to be invested. They're not going to get the value. If I'm your business coach and I'm going to help you make $500,000 a year,
Mhm.
and you go, great, Nikki, let's get started. What's the investment? And I tell you it's $50, you're going to laugh at me. You're going to go, what's he talking about? He doesn't know what he's
Mm.
doing. You won't hire me. But if I told you it was 50 grand, you go, oh, okay, that's a real investment. That this fellow must know what he's doing.
Right, right.
That's the facts. So you've got to charge. No, don't overcharge, but charge enough so people are invested in doing the work they need to do to be successful.
I love it. I love it. Let me talk about the way that you invest your money by writing all of these books. And I don't have all of them on here. I think I'm missing one um, or two. Let's see, three, four, five, because you've written seven. Is that correct?
I've written 9
Oh my
actually now.
gosh. Okay. Well, this is okay. This is just to show everybody what
But
you
it's a good overview. It's
overview.
good.
That's
I like
right. And I read Finished Line of Thinking. And I just love all your books. I mean, just the color of them and everything. But Finish Line Thinking, I've really, really enjoyed. And I think everybody will, especially if you're an athlete, because being an athlete, again, you work, do those goals, you talk about, the 13 principles of getting ahead. And I mean, this can be, when you're talking about business, it kind of goes hand in hand. And like a mind of a champion, I love how you put that in the book. And these were the two athletes that you worked with. Are these the ones that you thought you learned a great deal about, and then put your principles, or did you know it beforehand?
Listen, working directly with Olympic gold medal athletes definitely gave me a leg up in understanding the mindset of a champion. So definitely these two men had a lot to do with mentoring me and teaching me how champions think. No question about it.
Right, right, right. And talking about those different principles, the one principle that really struck me, and I think this will be good for any area of your life, is visualization. And I know as a
Yes.
swimmer, our coach, and this was in the 70s, okay? And our in 70s and 80s, and our coach, swim coach, would say, okay, we're going to visualize our next race. And she took us step by step. And, back then, visualization was kind of looked upon as going, you don't want to go there. And so I'm so glad now it's kind of becoming the norm. So, can you tell us how important it is to actually visualize what you want to do?
It's everything. I mean, what the mind can conceive, it can believe. And when it can believe, it can achieve. So if you don't actually have a target, how are you going to hit it?
Mhm.
It's like getting up in the morning and not knowing where you're going to go. It's like going to a ticket window at a train station and they go, ticket to where, please? I don't know, somewhere.
Right, right.
They can't sell you a ticket. You've got to sell yourself a ticket. And the way you do that is you visualize what you want. When I come onto a show, I visualize a couple things. I visualize that I get along with the host gets along with me. I visualize that it's going to be a high energy conversation. I visualize that the people listening to the show are going to get value from it. They're going to love it. And they're going to use some of this stuff to make their lives or their businesses
Mhm.
better. And I visualize building a good relationship with the host because I'm old fashioned. I
Yeah.
believe in building business relationships, know, like, and trust. And this is the best way to do it right now. You know what I mean? I don't have to drive anywhere. I can just have a half-hour meeting with you. At the end of this meeting, if I've done my job right, we've built a bit of a relationship, and then we can have a conversation. And that's how business gets done.
Absolutely.
It's very, very important. That's how business gets done. I've have clients right now that are members of my community in my program
Mhm.
that I've met through doing these podcast interviews. It's a beautiful thing.
So when you look at the different principles, I've already told you what I really like zero, thought of. I thought, oh my gosh, that's so important to visualize. Looking at all of those principles, which one do you feel like you like the most? I know they're all important, but which one do you really feel like resonates with you?
Well, I really like the idea of having a fit body and a fit mind. So exercise on a daily basis is important, and filling your mind with positivity is important. So those to me resonate the most. Although all of them are important, 100%.
Yeah, I loved reading that when you said, "Yeah, you've got to eat right," and I'm going, "Yeah, I keep tell, we tell ourselves that we're going to be healthy and everything else, but do we do it a lot of times? No." But that's one of those things that moving forward. So you help so many people. So why is this your passion? Why do you wake up every day? Why do you say this is what I'm going to do?
Well, let me answer that question by telling you a very powerful and beautiful story. Okay.
Sounds good.
Um, so a few years ago, 5 years ago, as a matter of fact, I was introduced to a woman who had been the country director for Canada for one of the world's oldest and largest personal development firms. And when she came to us, uh, I was actually surprised to see her because I knew who she was. And here's what happened. She had been running this organization, doing a great job, and then she decided to bring a man on to help her run the company. Kind of like Steve Jobs back in the day with John Scully with Apple,
Right.
right? At first, everybody got along. It was great. But after about a year, their visions of the future diverged. And just like Steve Jobs and John Scully, the board kicked her out of her own company.
Mm,
How do you get kicked out of your own company, a company you started?
yeah.
But it can happen if you have a
Mhm.
board, right?
Right.
Totally happen. And so she was lost. She was bereft. And then after a period of time, she came to us. We saw this was a quality human being. We poured into her. We taught her how to stand out with a very powerful message. So she was a thought leader. She stood out. We didn't get into that very much in our conversation, but that's one of the things I talk about on podcasts a lot. We helped her get clear on her ideal client avatar. We helped her put a plan together, and we sent her out to go after clients. Lo and behold, she did great.
Mhm.
Within a month, she made 10 grand. Within 2 months, she made 12,000 in her second month. Third month, 18 grand. In her fourth month, she made $62,200.
Wow.
Amazing, right? So she's from Ottawa. I'm from Toronto. It's a 5-hour drive away from each other. And my oldest son plays soccer, high-level soccer. He was 12 at the time. He's 17 now. And he called me and he said, Dad, we got an attorney. So I said, okay, let me call her up because she has a son his age. And I called her up and I said to her, hey, I'll call her Julie. That's not her real name. But
Right.
I said, Julie, we're coming to Ottawa for this soccer tourney. How would you and your son like to come and hang out with me and my little son, maybe watch a game, grab some lunch? This is a great idea. So we did it.
Mm-hmm.
My son's team won the tourney, which is great. We had lunch. Everybody had a good time. And then we drove and we went home. A few weeks later, we had one of our quarterly branded thought leader immersion workshops. This is where I bring people on like that, educators and other coaches and consultants, and we help them add 1 to 2 zeros to their annual income by showing them how to be thought leaders in their space. We got a phenomenal track record of that. And obviously with her, we did. And the way that I do my events is on the final day, I do our enrollment opportunity. And our enrollment opportunity is to find out how you can continue to participate in our programs. The way I do those enrollment opportunities is I bring someone from the community to share what they got out of being here. And lo and behold, we were at that part. And I said, who'd like to share? Mm-hmm. Before I could pick someone who'd raise their hand, she bounds up on stage and almost knocks me over, okay?
All right.
She's a petite, and I'm, 6 foot, strapping 200-pound man, right? 210 right now, I guess. And I'm like, whoa, okay, sure, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so she is facing the audience. I am standing back. There was about 15, 20 people in there and 8 new people. And she starts to cry. And I'm like looking at her from behind. I'm going, is she crying? Oh. She's crying. Why is she crying? She's sobbing. My lady comes up and hands her a box of tissues, and she gratefully accepts and blows her nose. And she looks at me and still sobbing, and in between sobs goes, Nicky, you didn't know this, but when you and your little son came to visit me and my little son said, Mommy, who are we going to go meet? And I said, oh, sweetheart, we're going to meet Nicky Billou and his son. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, that's cool. And he looks at her and he goes, is that the man who saved our family, Mommy? Oh. And I'm like, now you got to understand, Michelle, I ain't a snowflake. Mm-hmm. I'm an old school masculine man. I don't do the cry in public crap. Right. Except that
I was going to say,
I cry.
Yeah.
I cry.
Yeah.
And we were just hugging and both of us sobbing, and everybody goes, oh. And then she said, you didn't know this, but when I first came to see you, the bank was about to foreclose on our home. We hadn't paid our mortgage in months. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I were fighting in front of our kids every day like cats and dogs. They were afraid we were going to break up. I was afraid we were going to break up and lose my precious family. You literally helped us save our family. And I hugged her. And here's what happened. In that moment, I realized that I am not in business to quote unquote make money. I'm in business to quote unquote save lives. And I ask God today, God, we're living in perilous, uncertain times. Send me, you're poor, you're tired, you're hungry. Those yearn to breathe free. Send me someone like this woman, Julie, that needs my help. And my money will be a byproduct of being of service. Now, here's what you want to understand. We handed out registration forms to the 8 new people in the room. Everybody signed up on the spot. And you need to understand this is a high ticket program. Nobody had ever, not say nobody, we had never had everyone instantly sign up ever before.
Wow.
You would,
yeah.
Never before. That was an act of God. It was a miracle that had happened, but it was also a miracle brought about by a 12-year-old boy who wasn't even in the room, and a mother who just, from the deepest recesses of her soul, shared her story in a very compelling way.
And there you go, talking about the service that you give and that you learn to give. So that is a beautiful story. And, but yeah, wish I was there to have witnessed it and everything, but you're right. That is such a great service. So is there anything else that we did not talk about that you want to make sure that people know that we did not talk about?
There's a recession going on right now. And there's a lot of people that are scared and nervous and worried and wondering how can they survive, never mind thrive. And here's what I want to say to you. Times like these are the times when the greatest fortunes in history have been made. You can totally thrive. You just need to believe. And if you're lacking in belief, borrow mine for a while. And if you need some help, get on my calendar. Go to eCircleacademy.com/appointment. Tell me you were here on the show and tell me that you're hurting and that you want to change things, and you want to change things badly, and you want to change them now. And I'll have a call with you, and it's free of charge.
Love it, love it, love it. Oh my gosh, so inspirational. You can just tell whenever you're talking about helping others in your business, it is coming from the heart. So, which is so wondrous to see. All right, you ready for the last question? All right, so let me get the wheel on here. Now, just to let everybody know, this is the first time you've seen it. It's really little, but once it stops, you'll be able to read it. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. Ah. So, what is your favorite vacation of all time?
Of all time? Wow, that's a heck of a question. I went with my dad and my then girlfriend to Florida for 4 days. Very last minute, he came here, my late father. And it was a very short vacation. But I got to be with my father, and I got to be with the woman that I was dating at the time. And it was just a magical time. It was magical to be with my dad and with my lady at the same time.
Wow. So the memories that this vacation developed, and just the gratitude that you have for those memories. Oh my gosh. See, anybody listening to this episode or watching it, they're going to need Kleenexes, Nicky. Because you are such a compassionate guy. So, and I do want to appreciate and say thank you so much for coming on and also getting in my pathway as well. Because again, you are such an inspiration. And for everybody out there, remember, Nikki really models what a champion actually is, and a champion in life. It comes from the heart, it comes from inside, it comes from the soul, it comes from God, it comes from your maker, everywhere. And you can make a huge difference in the world as long as you show your unique self and coming from the heart. Right, Nikki? Okay.
Right, Michelle.
So I'm just summarizing what we just all talked about, and hopefully I got it correct. So keep writing those books. Keep doing your. Oh, first of all, what are the name of your podcast?
The Thought Leader Revolution is my business podcast, and my men's podcast is called the Sovereign Man Podcast.
Okay. I forgot to bring that out, that yes, he is also a podcast, so you can listen to him speak from the heart. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.